Good evening, Shirley King with the Napa Valley Food Bank. I'm in support of all those items. One that we wanted to highlight was the State Emergency Food Program. For food banks right now, we are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on food just to support our basic need. This particular program that we didn't highlight is actually an incentive to the economy. We are required to spend that money on food purchases of things that are actually grown, raised, and produced in the state of California. So we support that 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Jim Flores. I'm the president and CEO of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank. We're in favor of the increased funding for the State Emergency Food Assistance Program. Our allotment, our share of last year's distribution was about $55,000. We were able to buy 450,000 pounds of fresh produce, an increase to $5 million would allow us would provide us with 2.5 million of fresh produce. Nutrition-related disease is directly linked with poverty. When people have less resources, they can't buy fresh produce and protein, and it gets into a whole level of healthcare issues that can be prevented through proper nutrition. So we're in support of the increased funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Hi, I'm Mary Maher with California Emergency Food Link. We work with the Department of Social Services to distribute federal commodities through the state of California. We also manage that program here in Sacramento. And some may say that the Great Recession is over, but here in Sacramento, our lines are not decreasing. We support the increase of the State Emergency Food Assistance Program as it plays an important part in bridging the gap. Thanks.
Next witness.
Hi, I'm Karen Strock, Director of Programs with YOLO Food Bank. I'm here in support of the State Emergency Food Assistance Program and increase the funding for it. In YOLO County, 1 out of 6 residents is food insecure. So that means 1 out of every 6 people are not sure where their next meal is going to come from. And so, as in Sacramento, our lines aren't decreasing, they're actually increasing. Over the past 6 months, we've seen an 8% increase in the number of clients served compared to the same time period last year. And one of the great things about this program is it helps us meet that increased need. In addition to meeting that increased need, we're also supporting our local economy. The funds from this past year we used to canned goods from our local cannery here in Woodland. And so increased funding here in the future would not only use at the cannery, but also working in developing relationships with local farms to support our other programs. So supporting local business as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness, please.
Nicole Wortelman on behalf of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors in favor of CalWorks and CalFresh for drug felons, and on behalf of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors in favor of the phase out of the match waiver. Thank you. Next witness.
Good evening. Leslie McFadden on behalf of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors here in support of the CalFresh waiver phase out, and Assemblymember Dickinson already eloquently made my argument, so please listen to him on this matter. Thank you.
Next witness.
Hi, Chair and members. Kathy Mossberg with the California Food Policy Advocates as well as the Public Health Institute. Want to just lend our support to the augmentation for the emergency food program. Thank you.
Thank you. The lion's share of the discussion up here was about items 2 and 3, and I just didn't want to, even though Mr. Dickinson did comment on it, I wanted to say that, the food banks of the state are one of the best leverages of our limited dollars in terms of all of the different resources, from volunteers to donations to gleaning to all the different ways that those resources come together. So we definitely get a significant amount of benefit for the taxpayers' dollars when we invest in the emergency food assistance program. So
thank you.
Wanted to say amen.
Thank you.
And with that, our chair is back, and I think we're ready to move on to the next panel and to issue 6.
Thank you very much. Sorry I had to run out to vote on another committee I'm on. Thank you very much. That moves us now to item number 6, which is Adult Protective Services Program and Budget Review. Someone is here representing Eileen? Yes. And you'll introduce yourself? Okay. And Lisa Nuremberg is here? Yes. Good. Okay, great. Okay, we'll begin. Yes.
Thanks, Madam Chair, members. Pete Chervink, I'm the Program Deputy Director at the Department of Social Services. I'm here on behalf of Eileen Carroll, who regrets she couldn't be here today. Everything that I'm going to say is in the PowerPoint that you're holding, so I will, like others ahead of me, try to be brief, but I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail as you'd like. The Adult Protective Services Program in California, or APS, is there to protect vulnerable adults. It's analogous to the program we have on the children's side, but again, in this case, it's for adults who may be functionally impaired or otherwise unable to meet their own needs, and who are initially potential or actual, or later found to be actual victims of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. The program has been active in California since 1984, funded by the County Social Services Block Grant. But the program that we know today was the result in 1998 of Senate Bill 2199. And on slide 3 of the PowerPoint, it lays out all of the things that counties are required to do for the program. Respond to and investigate reports of abuse, do that on a 24-hour basis, provide time-limited case management services, advocacy, counseling, money management, other things that you might logically expect may be necessary, providing emergency shelter in certain cases, providing tangibles like food or transportation services, supporting multidisciplinary teams. I am going to get my tongue untied today. And then assisting in prosecution of the abuse, and also educating the public about what to watch for, how to report it, and so forth. Page 4 talks about the jurisdiction of APS agencies, and I think it's somewhat self-explanatory, so I'll leave that for you. On page 5, in 2011, as part of the realignment package of statutory enactments, the program was realigned to counties. There was approximately $55 million in general fund that was realigned to counties. There's some matching federal money and so forth there. What was held out, and this again is also analogous to the child welfare side, was the training for the Adult Protective Services program was retained at the state level, in part because that much money divided by 58 doesn't buy you very much. There's an economy of scale for having the state provide the training, develop the curriculum, and the mode of delivery. As noted in your agenda, there'll be others to talk more. There's a budget request in that. And the amount that was realigned was based on 11-12 expenditures. Again, the $55 million that was cited in your agenda. Total expenditures for the program in 11-12 were just under $120 million, and in 12-13 just over $121 million. The next two charts, the next chart is a list of the reports that are received annually. The line looks very steep. We called out the percentage change. You'll note the scale is small on the left margin. But the point here is that we've been seeing the last few years over a 5% increase in the number of reports received. And somewhere between 80 and 85% of reports actually result in the opening of a case. How long that case may be open will vary, but there's a substantial number of cases that go along with the reports received.
While we're on this, Madam Chair, would you mind if I just asked,
Sure.
at least for the short time you show the previous years, it was fairly flat. So do you have any sense of what we can attribute the increase of reports to? Because it is a significant change.
You know, I'm not sure that I'm necessarily the best person to do that because I don't have the longevity in the program here. But what I often hear is changing population demographics. We are seeing older people. There's more focus on the attention of older care. We've also added to the number of mandated reporters in terms of, you know, the people you would normally expect, but we've also added people who work for financial institutions to the list of mandated reporters recently through legislation. So as we have more reporters reporting, we see more reports being made.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's the combination of those two things. Briefly on the state staffing side, I generously said we have one position here. It's actually 0.75 of a position. What we do is very limited, and it's described on the next slide. But largely, it's assisting people in how to report. It's making the training available. It's running that training contract, assisting counties, and looking for consistency across county programs in the APS. So that's kind of the overview of the program. Happy to answer other questions as well.
Okay, we may have some more questions. Lisa Nirenberg.
Good afternoon. Actually, I guess it's evening now. Good evening, Chairwoman Weber and members. I'm Lisa Nirenberg, Chair of the California Elder Justice Coalition, and I'm really delighted to be here today with our partners. We have representatives from the California Commission on Aging and the California Welfare Directors Association to support Assemblymember Yamada's proposal for APS training and a full-time APS position. And we're very grateful to Assemblymember Yamada, her leadership in bringing these critical needs to light. They were the top priorities at the Elder Policy Summit that our agencies co-hosted last September, which was an assembly of 120 leaders in our field from many different disciplines. And our network really recognizes the pivotal role that APS plays in combating elder and dependent adult abuse. They're typically the first to respond to abuse cases, which cover a broad spectrum. They range from domestic violence to family members who use legal instruments like powers of attorneys to defraud elders, to scammers, some operating in other countries, who target the vulnerable. It's caregivers who abandon or neglect those that they have a duty to provide care to. It's also well-meaning caregivers who simply need support. And it's also self-neglecting adults who have dementias or mental health problems that render them incapable of providing for their own needs. The impact of abuse, I'm sure you recognize, can be devastating. It includes physical and emotional injury, decline, lost homes and savings, institutionalization, dependency on families or the government, and oftentimes families are torn apart. APS workers intervene in crisis situations, they investigate, sometimes along with law enforcement, and they help clients and families negotiate the maze of entities in the Elder Justice Network that can help. They help clients stay independent, they secure resources for them, and they make sure that perpetrators are brought to justice. This work requires highly specialized training. Workers need to understand often very subtle signs of abuse and understand the conditions that render adults vulnerable. They need to understand complicated legal instruments and the legal system, scams and schemes. They make judgment calls about whether clients are capable of making decisions or if they're being unduly influenced. They work closely with the long-term care ombudsman, police, courts, attorneys, and many others, and they need to be up to date on a myriad of laws and regulations. But while APS is among the most challenging forms of social work, the state budget for APS training is really minuscule considering the growing number of older people and the complexity of cases. State leadership and guidance are also needed to help counties' programs operate more efficiently and with greater consistency, to respond to their needs for information and resources. And state leadership is also needed to establish information channels that would help us better understand clients and their needs, and to evaluate program management and impact and ensure that abusers in one county can't simply move or switch settings. Now, clearly, California has a lot of strengths when it comes to elder abuse, elder and dependent adult abuse prevention. We've developed elder courts, multidisciplinary teams, forensic centers. We've piloted innovations that are being replicated around the country. What we lack at the state level are the resources and the leadership to build on those strengths. And so we feel that the very modest investment that we're asking for would ensure that all APS workers and their supervisors have training that reflects current knowledge and policy. A state leader under Department of Social Services would be able to ensure consistency and quality control, help forge partnerships among state agencies that can then pave the way for local partnerships and local coordination, can also promulgate best practices, and provide input so that California's needs are reflected as a national APS infrastructure is being built as a result of the Elder Justice Act, and also to be able to respond to opportunities for federal funds and technical assistance. So we urge you to take these critical steps towards creating the modern and the professional APS program that our state deserves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments from LAO?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ginny Bella with the Legislative Analyst's Office. As you've heard this evening, the resources at the state level are limited for this program, and we're continuing to work with stakeholders to make sure we understand all the components of their proposal and how it would impact and fit within the framework of the APS program.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone from Finance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, John Silva with the Department of Finance. This may come as a surprise, but we have no comments regarding the proposal.
I think we'll give an opportunity to Assemblymember Yamada is here, who is the author and brainchild of this proposal.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair and members. First, let me thank the hardworking Budget Subcommittee. You do have, not that the other subcommittees don't have a heavy lift, but you certainly have very, very weighty issues before you, and I appreciate all the hard work that is done. I am Assemblymember Mariko Yamada. The past 6 years or so of my life here in the California State Assembly, I've been either on or chaired the Assembly Aging and Long-Term Care Committee. So now going towards the end of my time here, I guess I could certainly say that I've been aging and raging, and this will be my final time in this capacity, really, to address you on these proposals. I've already written and expressed to you my grave concern about what has happened to aging program infrastructure in the state of California. We all know that we have sustained losses overall to the safety net. But I'm really here to ask you to really look very carefully at this very, very, very modest $1.4 million request. Because as the state of California approaches, 1/5 of the state, in terms of population over the next 20 years of persons age 65 and over. Thank you, Department of Finance, for having no comment. I wish you long life as well. But this is why we are trying to ensure that we do not lose more ground for what will become 20% of the state's population by 2035. That's only about 21 years from now. I will be joining the age 65 and over age group next year. And many of us in this room, in fact, this is really a nonpartisan issue because last time I checked, none of us was getting any younger. So, wherever you see the word Child Protective Services or Children's Services, you can just do a search and replace and change that to adult or dependent adult services. And, I won't take more of your time, but we have an exploding Alzheimer's population. We have an exploding population of autistic children that will fortunately not die of autism, but will become autistic adults. And how we are going to plan to serve these populations that are growing exponentially, if we do not address this now, I'm really very gravely concerned for the future of our older adult population. So with that, I thank you again for all of the work that you all do every day on so many issues. But I have to be the cheerleader for that other end of the age spectrum and hope that we all get there and have the programs and services that we need to live out our lives with grace and dignity. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Those for public comments on this particular item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Frank Mecca, on behalf of the agencies that administer the Adult Protective Services Program. I'm just going to say thank you to Assemblywoman Yamada for her leadership. I think the witness, Ms. Nirenberg, gave a wonderful explanation of why this is so important. So I just want to align myself with them and urge your support for this proposal.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Tia Orr, on behalf of the Service Employees International Union, we represent the Adult Protective Service social workers at the county level. We would like to echo the comments by the panelists. Thank you, Ms. Yamada, for leading this effort for us. We know this population is growing, and our social workers very much want to be fully trained before they take on this new work in this growing population. Thank you.
Madam Chair and Committee, Rebecca Gonzalez for the National Association of Social Workers California chapter. We're also very supportive of this issue and are grateful that Assemblymember Yamada has been such a champion in this area.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Farah McDade-Ting with the California State Association of Counties in strong support of this proposal. We appreciate Assemblymember Yamada's work on this as well as CWDA and our other partners. Thank you.
Julian DeVos with Urban Counties Caucus, also here in support of the additional training for APS, and also want to thank the Assembly member and our partners in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Julie Conger. I am on the Commission on Aging. I chair their Elder Justice Committee, and I'm also here as a judicial officer. I have served on the bench for 32 years. In the capacity in Alameda County, I founded the first Elder Protection Court in the country. I am currently serving on assignment in numerous counties throughout the state. I want to just second the comments of Ms. Nuremberg and tell you how very valuable adult protective services are in the field of elder justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Martha Guerrero representing the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and we truly appreciate our champion for social workers, Assemblymember Yamada, and her effort for this Adult Protective Services program and in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jill Nielsen. I am the Program Director for Adult Protective Services with the City and County of San Francisco. I am also currently the co-chair for the Protective Services Operations Committee, which is a subcommittee to the CWDA Adult Services Committee. APS serves and responds to over 145,000 reports of abuse, exploitation, self-neglect every single year, and we all know that these reports are only going to be growing. This morning, the Protective Services Operations Committee had the privilege of meeting with Kathy Greenlee, the administrator for the Administration for Community Living. She shared with us that in the President's budget, $25 million has been allocated for adult protective services, including $5 million for states for demonstration projects. We need state leadership in order to be able to access these wonderful opportunities. Right now, we do not have the coordination in order for our programs operationally to professionalize, to collaborate, to work with other states. On the federal level, there are elder justice initiatives that are being rolled out every single day. This is on the forefront, not just for the Administration for Community Living, but even with the President himself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity today.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Eck, and I'm a supervisor for Yolo County Adult Protective Services. I'm a recently promoted supervisor, and so as a recent line worker, I have a lot of experience with the lack of training and sort of the fly by the seat of your pants when you go out and you investigate. And I really hope that you support this proposal. It would be of great benefit to our elderly and our disabled adults. We find that they are the stigmatized group in this country, and we just hope that you send a message that they are important, because we all will get there hopefully one day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lori Delagrammaticus. I am a program manager with the Academy for Professional Excellence. The Academy develops trainings for CPS workers and for APS workers. I do the APS side of the house. I just wanted to let you know that the 23 core competency modules have been developed. The training is there. It's sitting on the shelf waiting for us to be able to deliver that training to our APS workers. And I would like to ask for your support to provide at least a little equity to our seniors, that they can have the same professionally trained social workers as our children get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Wertelman on behalf of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors and Ventura County Board of Supervisors in support.
Thank you. I think that covers everyone. Any comments from legislators? Okay. I want to thank you for the proposal and thank you for the information that's here. I think I stated earlier, those of you who were here, that we, as a society, we're judged by what we do for our children and for our elders. And that is so very, very important. And I appreciate those who have come and presented this proposal to us. In my other life, when I was just a graduate student at UCLA, I was a social worker dealing with the elderly, interestingly enough, and trained by one of the best geriatric social workers, Ruby Chuman, at the time, and had no idea what the field was all about as a graduate student, but got engaged and really learned a lot about working with the aged and sheltered care and the facilities for them and guardianships and all kinds of things, conservatorships we organized. And so it became an eye-opener for me to see this other population, and it has had a tremendous impact upon my own thinking with regards to life itself and the progression of life and how we treat each other. So thank you so very much. We look forward to this. We have some weighty issues, obviously, on this committee always, but I guess that's the good work that we do, or that we try to do. So we look forward to that. Thank you so very much for coming today, for the hearing. This meeting is adjourned.
May I just, one last word? I would like to echo the comments about Ms. Yamada, both her good work, but also her very articulate presentation tonight, very moving. So,
yes.
I'm sorry to...
She's been a great champion. Great champion. Thank you so very much, and we adjourned.